You started it?
Yeah.
So we kind of just got a 2-for-1.
Bismillah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa sallallahu wa sallam wa barak ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'een ma ba'du. So, alhamdulillah, since tonight is the first night of Ramadan, usually we try to do the Kitab of Siyam before we start fasting, but we can still do it, but we use a little simpler book that's not as long as the other ones, because usually it takes us about 5 to 6 weeks to finish Kitab of Siyam at 1 day a week. It usually take about 6 weeks. So inshallah, we're going to finish, but we're going to do 2 days a week. On Wednesday and Friday, we do the book of fasting, and then the other books on the other days. But only tonight, the class is at the Ramadan. Once we start fasting tomorrow, inshallah, everything is before iftar. So about 6:45 until the adhan of Maghrib, everything, all the classes will be before iftar, before iftar until the adhan of Maghrib. So approximately 6:45, 6:50, something like that, inshallah. We're using Sheikh Abdurrahman al-Sa'di's book, Minhaj al-Salikin, which is the path of the Wayfarer. It's translated, it's in English. And it's short, it summarizes to the point, so it'll give us enough, inshallah, to make sure our fast is correct without going into too much khilaf, difference of opinion. Like the explainer says, the sharih, the book is summarized. He mentioned the most important things. So it's not as detailed as the other books, but it's still, inshallah, a benefit worth reading through. So inshallah, we get to go through some ahkam, some of the rulings of Siyam. Before we start the book, we got to know some basic things. One of the basic things we got to know is the Muslims, we have our own calendar. Tayyib, we have our own calendar. And our calendar has how many months? 12 months. 12 months on the Muslim calendar, Islamic calendar, the Hijri. It's called the Hijri calendar. And it's important to know the Hijri calendar because all of our rulings, all of our rules, halal, haram, everything is connected to the Muslim, the Islamic calendar, the Hijri calendar. Tayyib. So every month we looking at, we talking about sighting the moon. We talking about sighting the moon, the first of this month, the second. We talking about the Islamic Hijri calendar. Okay, we're not talking about January through December. Okay, we talking about our age, even age. Age, we talking about on the Islamic calendar, which means everybody's older than usual. If you're 35, then you're really a little older than that, maybe a year or two. By the time you're 40, you're about 2 years older than you would be on the regular calendar. So, yep, which is important once we get to the issues of, really, not just in fasting, every issue in Islam, when it comes to time and is connected to the Islamic calendar. Hajj is connected to the Islamic calendar. The Sunnah days that we fast every month, right, and throughout the year, they're connected to the Islamic calendar. So we got to know the Islamic calendar. Tayyib, Ramadan is what month on the Islamic calendar? The 9th. That means it's a month before it and a month after it, right? And of course, the rest of the months. So when we get to that issue, it's going to be important to understand Ramadan is the 9th month. That's the name of the month of Ramadan. There's a month before we just finished, Sha'ban, and the month after it, Shawwal. So when we get to those issues, we got to remember This is in considering the Islamic calendar, which is based on what? The sighting of the moon, meaning every month in reality. More attention is given during Ramadan, right, in Sha'ban, Shawwal, and during the times of Hajj. But it's other things that are important that we need to be accurate. We need the accuracy of the day of the month during the Islamic month too. It's not just Ramadan and Hajj. It's other days we want to fast, right, during Muharram and other days throughout the year that we got to know what's the day of the month so that we can get the reward for fasting that day. Don't recommend it fast. The author, rahimahullah, who's the author? Imam Saajid, rahimahullah, which is whose teacher? Shaykh Al-Thamaraat, rahimahullah. Shaykh Al-Thamaraat, Sheikh that we know and love, his teacher. Shaykh Al-Thamaraat, rahimahullah, or Imam Saajid, is also one of those scholars who has a lot of writings in poetry in Arabic. Shaykh Al-Thamaraat, rahimahullah, he has some poetry also. Not all the ulama write poetry, but some of them do write poetry. When they do write poetry, it takes a lot to write the poetry, the type of poetry they're writing, because a lot of times they're summarizing. For example, the class that Sheikh Tahir is teaching, or the Juzatul Mi'iyah, the author summarized the biography, the life of the Prophet ﷺ in 100 lines of poetry. It takes, as we say, skill. It takes knowledge. It takes skill of the, they call it the wazn, the scale that you have to make it rhyme at the end and all of that in the Arabic language. It takes a lot to be able to do that. All of the scholars don't write poetry. I'm not saying that they can't, but what's known, all of them don't have books in poetry. Imam Saadi has famous poetry. Shaykh Al-Thamaraat has poetry. So Imam Saadi is also famous for what book? We all got to know this. Tafsir of Saadi. He has a book of Tafsir, it's translated, where he explained the Quran, that is considered to be a very balanced, meaning balanced for the level of the person who's reading it. Anybody can benefit from it. The general person can pick it up and benefit from it, and a scholar can read it and benefit from it. And that's why Imam Saadi's tafsir is famous. One of the reasons. Tayyib. He says, rahimahullah, Kitab al-Siyam. And Siyam has a meaning, of course. It has two meanings. It has a meaning in the Arabic language, and then it has a meaning to, if we could say, to the Muslims. In Islam, we have a meaning. Siyam, fasting, has a meaning Islamically. But in the Arabic language, fasting means, siyam means what? Everybody should know this. To refrain from. Or what? What's another word for refrain? Restrain yourself from some things, or abstain from some things, or don't do it. Some things you don't do. I like that one. That's all the way down there. Don't do that. All right. Some things we not doing while we fasting. And all other ones was right, but just in case there's any confusion, there's some things we're not doing. So generally, if a person doesn't talk, the general Arabic term, siyam, if a person refuses to speak and they're not talking, they say they're saa'im, they're fasting. They're fasting from what? Speaking, right? From speech. That's in the Arabic language. But we're not when we fast from Ramadan, we're not fasting on that meaning. We're not fasting on the meaning of I could just not talk all day and my fast be accepted. If I just don't talk, that means I can do everything else that we're not supposed to do. I can eat, drink, be intimate with my spouse, all that kind of stuff, right? Anything that will break the fast. And that's not the meaning of siyam legislatively or Islamically or to the Muslims. When we say we're fasting Ramadan, this is a specific meaning. This is one of the definitions, and there's no single definitions. They might vary a little bit based on the wording. One of the definitions is imsak biniyah, that a person refrains, they abstain from something with the intention. They have to have intention. You need a niyyah. Every act of worship needs an intention, right? And ashya makhsusa, to refrain from things with an intention from specific things. There's specific things we can't do while we fasting. It's not like the Muslims can't do anything while we fasting. There's specific things that while we're fasting, the days of Ramadan, we can't do. Fi zamanin mu'ayyan, right? For only a specific time. It's not like we don't eat 30 days straight from sundown to sunup, right? People ask that a lot. So y'all can't eat for 30 days? No, only while the sun, during the sun's hours, while the sun is up. Right? So it's a specific time. Min shakhsin makhsus, from a specific type of person. Now, do all of the Muslims fast Ramadan? Huh? This is a yes or no question. Does yes or no? I don't know. Do all of the Muslims fast Ramadan? No. Okay. So there's a specific type of Muslim that must fast Ramadan. We're not talking about if it's obligatory. We ain't saying do all the Muslims fast. No, there's some Muslims. They're Muslim. They pray every day. They do that, but they don't fast Ramadan. Right? And there's reasons for that. The first point in this book is nice because he has it in points. The first point, he says, Al-aslu fihi qawluhu ta'ala ya ayyuha alladhina amanu kutiba alaykum as-siyam kama kutiba ala alladhina min qablikum la'allakum tattaqun. Al-ayat al-Baqarah, the verse from Surah al-Baqarah, which is ayah 183. He said, Al-aslu fihi. The word asl carries a couple different meanings. And the plural of asl is usul. We know usul, right? Usul. Tayyib. What is an asl? The origin or the foundation. The origin or the foundation of something. Tayyib. So he says the origin, if we leave it like that, the origin or the foundation of fasting Ramadan is the verse from Surah Al-Baqarah, ayah 183, if anybody wants to know, ayah 183. Tayyib. What makes that the origin? When we say the origin, what does that mean? That verse is the origin. It's the proof. It's the proof. That's the dalil. The dalil. So another word that the ulama use for dalil is asl. Right? They might say the asl in the mas'ala. What's the mas'ala? The mas'ala here the issue here we talking about is the obligation of fasting Ramadan. Is it obligatory to fast Ramadan? Or is it something that's recommended to fast Ramadan? It's obligatory. How do we know it's obligatory? He said, Prophet says obligatory. He said, it's a pillar. The ayah. The verse itself, not that the Prophet said, not that it's wrong because it's other hadith, just using what's in front of us. The verse itself is the dalil. You looking at the verse, Sheikh? No. Read the whole verse in English real quick.
Believe, observing Saum, the fasting, prescribed for you as it was prescribed for those before you, that you may become al-muttaqun.
If you look at the end of 185, right, from 183 to 185, Allah said at the end of that verse that whoever sees it, he says what?
To make things difficult for you. He wants that you must complete the same number of days and that you must magnify Allah. Say takbir, Allahu Akbar. Allah is the most great for having guided you so that you may be grateful.
So out of those three verses, right? It says, فَمَنْ شَهِدَ مِنْكُمُ الشَّهْرَ فَلْيَصُمْهُ. Whoever witnesses that month, فَلْيَصُمْهُ. Then he has to fast, right? Whoever reaches the month of Ramadan, then they have to fast. Allah gave a command. It's not optional, right? Allah gives a command, and a command to us means what? It's obligatory. If Allah gives us a command, the same word. If Allah gives us the command, the asl of a command is that it's obligatory. Now the asl here means what? Does it mean dalil that it's obligatory? Remember, asl has more than one meaning. Asl can mean dalil, and asl can mean the origin, right? Or what did you say? The foundation, the origin. So the origin, originally, when Allah commands us to do something, we start. Where's our starting point? Whatever Allah commands us to do, He gives us a command. Our starting point, our origin is that it's obligatory. We need something else from the Quran or the Sunnah to take it off of being obligatory and put it somewhere else. So he says here, the asl here is the verse, right? Inside of that verse, Allah commands us to fast. فَلْيَصُمْهُ. That's a command from Allah. Al-Amr. And the Amr, a command from Allah, the origin, the starting point is that it's obligatory. That's the first point. Now he moves on to the second point. وَيَجِبُ الصِّيَامُ رَمَضَانَ عَلَى كُلٍّ. Now he mentions the 4 characteristics, the 4 descriptions that if a person carries these 4 descriptions, at this point, it's obligatory for them to fast Ramadan. What's important is when we say something is obligatory, all right, what does that mean in Islam? It's a must. It's a must. If you don't do it, you're deserving of Allah's punishment. If you don't do it, you're deserving of Allah's punishment. And if you do it, you get Allah's reward. And it's a reward, right? It's a reward connected to it. And if you don't do it, it's a punishment. Deserving of Allah's punishment. That's important. Why? Because He may not punish you, forgive you. Allah could forgive a person for leaving off something that's obligatory. Right? So it's not a guarantee, but we don't practice Islam and open ourselves up to the punishment of Allah by leaving off our obligations. We're not going to not do our obligations and say, well, Allah's all forgiven. Allah going to forgive me. No. Right? We can't do that. So he says, firstly, yajibu siyam. Siyam is obligatory if a person has these 4 characteristics, they have to fast. It's not optional. And if they don't, it's a sin. And they're deserving of Allah's punishment. Why? Because they left off an obligation. Tayyib, he says the first description is that the person is Muslim. Is Muslim, which means it's not obligatory on who? The kafir. It's not obligatory. Fasting is not obligatory on a non-Muslim. Therefore, when a non-Muslim is not fasting, right? When they're eating and enjoying their day and going about their day, right? We don't have the authority to command them not to eat. Right? You can't eat around me because I'm fasting. You with me? We can't. We think because we fasting, it's our obligation. It's not their obligation. Which doesn't mean, which is another issue, doesn't mean they won't be held accountable Yom Qiyamah for not fasting. That's a separate issue. Right? That's a whole separate issue. So the first thing is that the person has to be Muslim, which the opposite, if they're not Muslim, then it's not obligatory. We leave people where they are. The second condition for the fast to be obligatory on that individual person is important. All right? For the fast to be obligatory on this individual standing in front of you. Number 1, they're Muslim. Number 2, that they're baligh. Baligh is they reach the age of puberty. What if a person, the boy or girl, they're Muslim, and they have not reached the age of puberty? Then that equals what? Then it's not obligatory. Doesn't mean they can't fast, y'all. It doesn't mean we shouldn't encourage them to fast. But it means it's not obligatory. And if it's not obligatory, if they don't do it, then what? It's not a punishment. It's not a sin. And they're not deserving of Allah's punishment. Clear? Why? Because they're not from the people. They don't meet the requirements. So they're Muslim. They're baligh. They reach the age of puberty. With the signs, we know the signs of puberty, right? How many signs of puberty are there? How many signs? That's a number. How many signs? Sheikh said 4, huh? 3 or 4? Yes. We got 4, one number. Anybody disagree with that? Or you send out there? 4? What's the first sign? The mince. That's specific for the woman, right? So once a girl, once she has a mince, at that point she's baligh. That means the rules of Islam now the salat is obligatory, right? Now she's under the, as we say, under the pen. Things are being written. She's being held accountable, boy or girl. So the woman gets a mince, and that one is specific for her. What's the other one? Pubic hair. It's like scruffy. It's a little rough. Not that.
I mean, not like you person, but this is the thing. You know what I'm saying? You know when you're young boy, you're like,
Not fuzz, right? Not like the fuzz. Is that 5 feet?
Yeah, it's like it was.
No, it's like you know, like I think bad to say fuzz.
Like say fuzz.
Oh, all right. How do they shine? Sometimes, yeah, not like the little, not the normal peach fuzz that everybody has, right? That is actually real hair growing in that area, right? The hair is growing in the pubic area, right? The coarse hair, not the peach fuzz that everybody has. Tell you, what's the next one? Huh? A wet dream, jaded. Nocturnal emission. A wet dream, right? They have a wet dream. That means that child has reached puberty. That means they're balig. That means they have to fast now. Only need one sign. You don't have to have all 4 signs or all 3 signs. And what's the last one? The age of 15. The early man say if a child doesn't have any of those signs, once they reach the age of 15, they say khalas, they're balig. Child could be 15 and maybe they don't have any coarse hair, that she didn't get her menses, right? That what? Once they reach the age of 15, khalas, they're balig. So the first condition, the Muslim. Second condition is that they reach the age of puberty by one of the signs. The third condition is that they are sane. They have their sanity. They're aql. Meaning they're not, right, Majnun, what would we say? They're not crazy. No, they could be burnt out and shout out, still be aql. But they're not intellectually, they're not like, they're not mentally handicapped. They don't have an intellectual disability. They're not classified as being a person who has a, right? Right, you know, whatever word is the perfect word. I think it's now is intellectual disabled or challenged, right? Which doesn't mean, y'all. All of these mean that what if they are intellectually challenged? Can they fast?
They can, but it's not
Right. These conditions mean they have to, obligatory. If they don't, it's a sin and they deserve of Allah's punishment. So the person has to have their sanity in that case, meaning they're not from that group who are excused. Because the people who don't fit these 4 descriptions, these are the Muslims who might not be fasting. So you might see somebody in the street. They might have on a kufi, a thobe, and they might be eating a candy bar. You know what we say. What we say when we see a Muslim eating a candy bar in the middle of Ramadan? Astaghfirullah, shout out, man. That's why I'll be coming down here. As if they couldn't have fit into one of those categories, right? They're Muslims who have excuses, right? We supposed to give each other what? 70 excuses. We can't get one. Maybe something. Yes, Sheikh, I'm sorry.
Muslim is on medication.
Mm-hmm.
Some can't fast at all.
Right. We're going to get there. They got an excuse. We're going to get there. Right. There are people with valid excuses. Those valid excuses, how we know they valid or not? It's from the,
Allah says it's valid.
Yes. We got text. We need text to say that's a valid excuse for you not to fast. Right. We're going to get there. Inshallah. Tayyib. So the fourth one, which we're coming up to now, the person is qadir ala sawm, that the person is able to fast. Why wouldn't a person be able to fast? They sick. They on medication. They cannot miss the medication. Right? How do they know they can't miss the medication? Who makes that call? The doctor. Doctor gotta be Muslim? Don't? MashaAllah. Hold time on. Now we gotta go back. The doctor that tells you you don't have to fast. You can't fast. It prevents you from fasting Ramadan. Man.
The doctor might say that.
Does the doctor, is a condition that doctor is a Muslim?
No. He's a scholar of medicine. That's all. He even tell you the option.
Tayyib. We do that later. Khalas. Tayyib. So the person has to be able to fast. Tayyib. They got a sickness. They have to take medicine. The doctor makes that call. And you should get more than one opinion. You shouldn't take it into your own hands. You should consult the medical professionals before you end up hurting yourself. Right? And then you hurt yourself, you could be in sin. Right? That's why Islam is, alhamdulillah, balanced and just. If we're following, Islam is balanced. The Quran and Sunnah is balanced and just if we're following the Quran and Sunnah. That you don't have to do anything to we don't have to do anything to put ourselves in harm's way. A person's sick, they go to the doctor says you can't do this. This is what's going to happen. Man, I ain't missing no Ramadan. I've been fasting for 20 years. I ain't missing one. They fast. They don't do what the doctor said. They fall out in the street, hit their head, possibly kill themselves. Right? When they had recommendations from the professionals of the medical field not to fast, Islam doesn't require us to do that. As much as the person might want to fast and still, right, that situation goes back to the doctor. The wife can't make that call for her husband. She can't say, babe, you probably ain't going to be able to make it. Just don't do it. She can't make that call, or she can't tell him to do it. And he can't do the opposite for her. That the person who's sick, that's a call from the professionals, the doctor. The doctor should be Muslim if we can, y'all. It's better. It's better. I'm going to leave it just like that. Tayyib. It says, which is the next point. All right, Tayyib. That was the four descriptions in the person for fasting Ramadan to be obligatory. So 4 descriptions are in the person, and 1 description is not connected to the person. Clear? There are 5 descriptions. 4 are connected to the person, and 5 is not connected to the person. What are we talking about? When is fasting Ramadan obligatory? We got 5 things we're looking at. Out of those 5, 4 of them is connected to the individual. Clear? That they're Muslim, right? They what? Reach the age of puberty, right? They have their sanity. Number 4, they're able. They don't have any sickness, for example, preventing them. And number 5 is what? Right. That it is the month of Ramadan has started. Can't fast if it's not. You can't fast Ramadan if it's not Ramadan. You can fast, but you're not fasting Ramadan. Tayyib. So he says, number 5, which is the 5th thing that we know from this point, fasting is obligatory, because a person can have those 4, right? A person can have those 4 qualities, but it's not obligatory for them to fast Ramadan right now, today, for example. Why not? It's not Ramadan yet. That's when it becomes obligatory. But yeah, how do we know when Ramadan has entered? We gotta be careful, y'all. We gotta be careful. We gotta be careful of. Huh? No, we're going with the usl. The usl of our deen is that the months start with what? How do we know the month started? The sighting of the moon, the hilal. We got to be careful. We got to be careful. When it comes to Islam and our deen, we have to be careful the terms that we connect to our deen. The Muslims are not at war over the moon. There's no such thing as a moon war. Right? They call them moon wars. That's what people call it. They say the Muslims are going to war over the moon sightings. We got to be careful that we attach stuff like that to deen. We got to be careful, right? We don't have that. In Islam, the issue of sighting the moon is an issue of khilaf. We made it out of our ignorance because we don't know. We made it bigger than what it really is. This issue go back to the Sahaba, the companions. We made it bigger than what it is. If a person want to follow a local sighting, alhamdulillah, what's the big deal? If a person doesn't want to follow the sighting, the international sighting, what's the big deal? We made it into something, and then we put names attached to it, and then we go further than that, which is even more dangerous. We start making fun of the Muslims who are going through things based on khilaf, and they have dalil. We got to be careful. All right, we got to be careful. Our deen is not like the butt of the joke. We shouldn't get comfortable making our deen an issues, and this is a real issue. It's not this is a real issue. This is a pillar. Our pillar, us fulfilling this pillar, is based on us sighting the moon.
But one day changes odd night to an even night.
Sahih.
I'm not saying that you go fight over it. I'm just saying that would be a debate. Like, okay.
Tayyib.
All right.
That's why the Prophet said something did what in the last 10? All of them. You were hard on the last 10. You gambling and trying to get one. This odd. You calling around 6 people trying to figure out if it's an odd night. Just do all of them. Right? You trying to catch it. No, do all of them. If you want to do the sunnah, go hard all the last 10. Right? So it says, number one, we know that it's Ramadan because the moon, the hilal, was sighted, the crescent. Right? That's one way. Or the other way is what? Sha'ban, which is the month before Ramadan. Ramadan is which month? What number? 9. The 8th month that we just finished is Sha'ban. Every month on the Islamic calendar is either how many days? Either 29 or 30. No less than 29, no more than 30. So that means, and this is all connected, that means the night begins when? At Maghrib. So the night precedes the day on our calendar. So right now, this is the first night of Ramadan. This is the first night. What do we do during the nights of Ramadan? We pray Taraweeh. Therefore, we're going to pray Taraweeh, and we haven't even fasted yet. Right? Tomorrow's the first day of Ramadan. But this is the first night of Ramadan because the night starts after Maghrib. Tayyib? So now we're going to pray Taraweeh tonight because it's a night of Ramadan. That's from the Sunnah to pray Taraweeh during the nights of Ramadan. Tayyib, that means the fact that the moon was sighted, that means Sha'ban is finished. Now the 9th month has begun Ramadan. What if they go out there and they don't see, because remember, we only going to look for the moon. The month has to be 29 days at least. Right? Every day or every month on our calendar has at least 29, no more than 30 days. So towards the end of the month, what happens? They're going out to look for the moon, right? That means they've done at least how many days before they start looking for the moon? They did at least 29 days. Why? Because the month can't be 28. There is no 28-day month on our calendar. So that means we already did at least 29 days of Sha'ban, right? So now we go look for the moon. We don't see the moon. So that means the next day is not Ramadan. The next day is what? The 30th of Sha'ban. Once we reach the 30th of Sha'ban, khalas. There is no 31st. That means the day after that is Ramadan. So either we see the moon or Sha'ban is 30 days, khalas. Now the issue of, which he didn't mention, and I don't really want to mention, but sometimes they go to look for the moon and it's cloudy. Right? So they can't see the moon. They can't see the moon, right? So now if they can't see the moon, the ulama differ. What should you do now? Some, based on the hadith, some say you fast. So we know we did 29 days. We go out to look for the moon. We can't see, it's cloudy. Is tomorrow Ramadan? Is tomorrow Ramadan? How you know if you ain't see the moon? You go outside, listen. You go outside, it's cloudy. You're looking for the crescent. You can't see because of the clouds. You can't see it, Sheikh. If it moved, listen. If it moved, we can see it. That's the point. We can't see it. If we can't see it, it's not visible. And this is where the ulama differ. Some say you fast ihtiyatan, just in case tomorrow's Ramadan. Right? And some say no, that you follow the hadith as you already mentioned, that you extend it complete Sha'ban 30 days if you don't see it. So the hadith he uses that's mentioned this issue here, as the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, إِذَا رَأَيْتُمُوهُ فَصُومُوا. He said, if you see the crescent, the hilal, fast. If you see it, start fasting. If you see which hilal? When is this hadith talking about? If you see it, fast. Huh? At the end of Sha'ban, the month we just finished, you go look for the moon. If you see it, fast. Right? Everybody with me? We did 29 days of Sha'ban. We got to go start looking. You go start looking. You see it? Yes. Fast. Tayyib, it's Ramadan. Like we get ready to do now. Tayyib. Then the Prophet ﷺ said, وَإِذَا رَأَيْتُمُوهُ فَأَفْتِرُوا. And if you see it, break the fast. If you see what?
The moon for Shawwal.
The moon for Shawwal, the month after Ramadan. Everybody clear? We looking for 2 moons. And this for real, y'all. This goes on for real all year long. For every month, this could, right? Just make sure you know. Yeah, that's so now we looking for the moon to start Ramadan, and then we looking for the moon to end Ramadan. And at the end of Ramadan is their Eid. So the Prophet ﷺ said, if you see it, fast. If you see it, break the fast. فَإِنْ غُمَّ عَلَيْكُمْ فَقْدُرُوا لَهُ. If it's cloudy, if your sight is blocked, you can't see it. It's cloudy, something's going on, you can't see the moon. It says فَقْدُرُوا لَهُ. Now, what does that mean? This is where the ulama differ of what that means. فَقْدُرُوا لَهُ. There's a couple ways you can translate it. Point being, this word فَقْدُرُوا لَهُ, make an estimation of what it is. What did that mean? Make it shorter or make it longer? We go out there, we can't see it, right? Make it shorter. No, we're going to fast tomorrow. It's probably there. Basically, in our terms, we're going to fast. We go out there to sight the moon. We look up there. It's cloudy. We can't see it. Not that it's not up there. It's up there. The moon is always up there. We can't see it. So what we do? We just going to make it short. We're going to consider tomorrow Ramadan and fast. Or we say, nah, we're going to stretch Sha'ban and make it 30 days, right? There's another hadith, another wording. The Prophet ﷺ said, فَقْدُرُوا لَهُ ثَلَاثِينَ. He said, make it 30 days. Don't fast, which means they understand. So don't make it 29 days. Just stretch it, make it 30 days. And in another narration, it says, فَأَكْمِلُوا عِدَّةَ شَعْبَانَ ثَلَاثِينَ. Another narration, the Prophet ﷺ said, so complete Sha'ban and make it 30 days. So therefore, some of the ulama say, when you go out there and you can't see it, do what? Just complete Sha'ban, make it 30 days, and then start fasting the day after that. طيب. When it's time to go sight the moon, and this is important, because Islam gives importance to our reputation. Reputation is important in Islam. A good reputation is important in Islam. Not the rep that we, not that rep. A good reputation is important, because if your rep is bad if you got a bad rep as a Muslim, we're not taking your word. Your word is not dependable. And this is for, right, when it comes to a person being a witness for something. You got to figure. In this case, as he says, and this is the next point, that, for example, a whole country, a whole city is going to fast. Why? Because one person came and said he or she saw the moon for Ramadan. I saw the hilal. We're going to trust you as a whole group of Muslims in the area. We're going to trust your word, and we're going to start fasting our pillar based on your word. Clear? This is only for Ramadan. Only for Ramadan, that one person's statement, the beginning of Ramadan. Only for Ramadan, the start of Ramadan, is one person. Their statement is enough for us to take and use it. Clear? Adl, that a person is I forgot the word for adl. Just? Trustworthy. Just, trustworthy, all of that. That as a Muslim, that's the reputation they have. So as we say, if a person shout out, Islamically, as we say, shout out. They're not praying, they doing this, they doing that, right? Haram all over the internet, everybody know. And then they come and say they saw the hilal. Are we taking their statement? They say, I saw the moon, we fast Ramadan tomorrow. Nobody else said, only them. We taking their statement? Why? They don't meet the requirements to be, for your word, your statement is not acceptable Islamically. Even if tomorrow is Ramadan. Clear? That person is not Islamically trustworthy. Even if the next day is Ramadan. If he or she the only one that saw it, and their reputation with the Muslims is not a trustworthy, upright standing, mashallah, known to be a person of deen, the Muslims don't have to take that. And we don't have to fast on that. Somebody else might come behind them now. That is trustworthy. And say, I saw it. We could take that. But as far as the person who doesn't have a trustworthy reputation amongst the Muslims, then their word is not taken, which shows the importance of guarding and protecting your Islamic reputation. It's important in our deen. Other deens, Allahu Alam, what they do. Our deen, our reputations as Muslims are important in our deen. And we need to take that and make that, especially in the city we live in the way Islam is perceived in our city, in the clarity that you can see Islam, because you go to other cities, it's a bunch of Muslims there. But like they'll tell you, when I go to Philly, I can see, I know, I can tell. Y'all wear thobes, y'all wear that. So Islam is apparent, all right? It's important that we guard that we guard the image. That's important. We can't just be out here wearing thobes and shaylas and abayas and out here. We know, y'all know. I don't know how it got to that point. Allah, I don't know how it got there. I saw a sister in all black. Right? I'm dead serious. It's a whole blunt. Like the joint was no problem. Out on the it was no shyness. How we get there? How do we get to the point where we think we can show up, izar, right? The whole lay. Roll the windows down, the music blasting, smoke coming out, no shyness. And show up like that at a janazah. How we get there? We have to understand Islam from our deen is to protect our reputation as Muslims. It's not enough we look the part. That's not, everybody, all the Muslims in the world don't dress like this. You go to some places, they wear pants and shirts and they got regular different clothing. This is a standout. We standing out now. We listen, I'm a Muslim. And that's why a non-Muslim will easily say, you supposed to be doing that? Like, even a non-Muslim know you out of line. Kuffar know we out of line. The non-Muslim know we out of pocket. From guarding a reputation. And this is the only month that one person, the other months, as he says, وَلَا يُقْبَلْ فِي بَقِيَةُ الشُّهُورِ إِلَّا عَدْلَانِ. The rest of the months, if we want to confirm that the month is starting, we need 2 witnesses. We need 2. So how is it that at the beginning of the month we can take one person's statement, but at the end of the month we need 2 people? That's the question. Yes.
I keep years ago, Ramadan came.
Hold up, Sheikh. You gotta answer the question before you go there. Hold. How is it that we can sit here and say the beginning of the month of Ramadan, one good brother could come? Sheikh, he says, Alhamdulillah, I saw the hilal for Ramadan. You saw the hilal? We make an announcement, we all fasting tomorrow. One person. Huh?
Because of the obligation of fasting?
A lot. Huh? What gives me the authority to sit here, or the sheikh, what gives him the authority to say that as long as one trustworthy, just person comes and they saw the hilal, we can fast on this statement? What gives Sheikh Abdul Rahman Said the authority to say that? It's not a trick question. No doubt. It's definitely got to have some text. It's a text. The text in the hadith. The man when he came, he informed the Prophet it was one person. He came by himself. He didn't come with a group of people and say, we all saw the hilal. The man came to the Prophet by himself and said he saw the hilal. He commanded the people to fast. Text. So text, now we can turn around and say, well, Ramadan could be taken. One just person comes, we could fast. Why? Because based on the hadith. Okay. But the rest of the months, you need 2 witnesses, 2 people, which is important. Even those 2 people, they have to be just. The reputation amongst the Muslims has to be good. We got to be careful. We live in a time where we like, as long as people know I'm Muslim, I pretty much do what I want to do. I get on the internet, I show the world, I do what I want to do. And I can put like next to in my bio, Muslim, 5-day, whatever, Yahmakallah. I could put anything fly to let everybody know I'm Muslim. And then I could just, in my bio, link in the bio. I can do all that. And then scroll down the page. And it's out of control. It's no shyness before Allah. Right? That's a problem. Islam does not teach us. Nowhere do we find that that's okay in our deen in Islam. Right? And we got to remember, if that's the case, and if we're doing that, we need to stop now immediately. Because we're going to die. We're going to die. And that page still going to be sitting there. Active. And everybody going to be going to the brother page and sister page. And that's what we leave behind as a legacy. on our name. Allah protect us and forgive us. I'm sorry for the,
Now you said take 2 witnesses to witness every other month. When it's take, do it have to be like, can it be, it's 2 male witnesses or can it be 1 male and 2 females? Is it like that? I'm teaching that.
Let me see if the Sheikh mentioned that here. You know what I'm saying? He didn't mention that here. We'll leave that, inshallah. Eventually, before we move, we shouldn't look at y'all. We should understand that the local sighting and the international sight is not a big deal like that. We got to calm down on that. We got to really pump the brakes and relax. It's not that deep like that. We can do this or we could do that. If people choose to do a local sighting, alhamdulillah. We're going to say they shot out because they, what are we going to say? That they're shot out. The Muslims are shot out because they took the initiative to go and physically practice the sunnah and look for the moon themselves? How we going to, what's the problem with doing that? And many other ulama say that's better to do.
When you said, you cleared something up, what you just said, because years ago, back in the day, and I remember when I came from Ansari back in the day, it was likely because like you didn't clear, how you just clarified, it was like, we doing a local trip. I ain't doing Saudi. We don't care about doing that.
Like Saudi, the only one. Listen,
Yeah,
as if Saudi Arabia is the only one in the world to look for the moon.
Yeah.
People follow who they trust as far as sighting the moon. Khalas. If people do a local and that's what they want to do, that's what they trust. It's not that deep. That we got to start putting labels on it, and it's a moon sighting, and we get ready to do this, and it's not that deep. We making it that deep. We're making it bigger than what it is. If people do that, alhamdulillah, that's where they worship Allah. They got to meet Allah with that, alhamdulillah. And we got to meet Allah with what we do, alhamdulillah. The next point, he says, وَيَجِبُ تَبْيِيتُ النِّيَّةِ لِصِيَامِ الْفَرْضِ. He says it is obligatory for the obligatory fast. We got 2 fasts, right? Sometimes we fast and it's sunnah, it's recommended fast. And then some fasts are obligatory, right? Fast in Ramadan is obligatory. For the obligatory fast, but fasting Mondays and Thursdays, sunnah is recommended. Like for the obligatory fast, like what we get ready to do for Ramadan, he says it is obligatory to make your niyyah for fasting the obligatory fast. Meaning, and he didn't mention it here, but it's worth mentioning briefly. How many days in Ramadan? 29 or 30. So we fasting every all 29 days? Or we fasting some? We fasting all 29 or 30 days, right? So we make an intention. We making 29 or 30 intentions? Huh? Make one at the beginning? Some, that's the point. Some of the ulama say one is yakfi, and some say no, you got to make the intention every night before Fajr. You got to make it before Fajr. If you make it after Fajr, that means you did what? You started a day of fasting without a niyyah to fast that day, Ramadan. All right? Yes. Should the niyyah be at Maghrib? For example, right now, it's Friday, right? The fasting is for when? We fasting tomorrow. If we say the night before, can we make our niyyah now to fast tomorrow? How you sure you can do that? It's the night before, right? You got all the way up until when? Not Fajr. Before Fajr. Once that adhan go off, khalas, you done started, the day started, and you didn't have the intention to fast that day. That means you missed a portion of the day without the intention to fast. Fadal.
Qualifies as an intention.
Good, Jade. What qualifies as an intention? Do I have to say verbally, I intend to fast Ramadan tomorrow? No, the intention is in the heart. As long as a person has the intention in the heart, I'm fat. I'm saying it out loud, y'all, but I'm sitting here thinking to myself, I'm fasting Ramadan tomorrow. But I'm not speaking. Or, like some of them explained, the fact that I get up and eat sahur is enough. The intention is easy. That shows that I'm making an intention.
But so that begs the question. I didn't go technical. I'm just saying tonight, like right now,
Yeah.
all day, everybody been thinking,
Not all.
let Ramadan coming. This is gonna be my month. Like this is how we think as Muslims, right? So we just make attention to fast the whole month, all of us. Now,
I don't know,
no. Away, I'm saying, listen, this is gonna be like something getting away, you travel, got sick, whatever. That's one thing. I'm talking about everybody in their mind saying this is about to be. It's like a super right?
We debated last year with that.
We all
As soon
just
as we say
sitting here.
Ramadan, it's the whole
Like,
month. I'm
like,
not
yo,
waking up.
Listen, some say you can do that. Some say you can do that. And some disagree. Some disagree and say that's not enough. Right, wrong, and different. Some of the scholars of Islam say you can make one intention at the beginning. And some of the scholars of Islam say you need an intention every night because every day is a separate act of worship and every worship needs its own niyyah. What you comfortable with doing, that's on you.
I mean, but within that though, right, Sheikh, every day you intended to.
That's khalaq. Listen, if that's the case, then it's easy. Making the intention is easy. As long as you make the Eid Sahur, you got the intention. The intention is in the heart. You don't got to verbally get up in the mirror and say every day. You state your name and your birthday, and then I'm fasting today, Ramadan. You don't have to do that. This is doing the fact that you get up, you eat sahur, right? You make the intention, you pray Maghrib, and then you had the intention for the next day to fast. Khalas, it's done. Do you need one at the beginning? Can you do one at the beginning and then you're not thinking about it every night? Some say you can. You say you have the azima, you have the determination to fast every day. They say that's enough at the beginning. And some say you need to make it every night. I'm not saying what's the stronger opinion. What's the safer thing to do? Every night is safe. You can't go wrong with that. I'm not saying the other one is wrong. I'm saying safe. Safe doesn't always mean strong, strongest. It just means it's safe, right? Nobody's going to say the fact, listen, nobody's going to come and say the fact that you made your intention to fast for Ramadan every night, that your fast is invalid. Nobody's going to say that. But some could argue, well, you didn't make niyyah you only made one niyyah at the beginning. Some could argue against that because that's where the khilaf is. So the safe that you make the niyyah every day. If people make one niyyah, Allah. The last thing we're going to stop here. And that whole issue is for the obligatory fast. As far as the voluntary fast, the nafil for your Jews, be niyyah min al-nahar, that a person could miss part of the day, right? A person could, for example, wake up at 10 o'clock on a Monday. They didn't eat anything. They weren't intimate with their wife or their husband, right? They didn't do anything that break the fast. They woke up late. They said, SubhanAllah, today Monday? Yeah, I'm a fast today. Sunnah. That's a voluntary fast, which means they didn't make their niyyah the night before Fajr came in. We can do that for voluntary fast, but we can't do that for an obligatory fast. How we know we can do that for a voluntary fast? Who authorized that? The hadith of the Prophet sallallahu. That he woke up, he was right. He said, "Is there anything to eat?" And he saw him. There's nothing to eat. Then I'm a fast, and it was known it was already part of the day went by. We'll stop there, inshallah, for Isha and for Tarawih after Isha. I'm sorry for the shape. Yes.
You could also break your fast. Excuse me. You could also break your. You could break your fast as far as like fasting. Also, while you're doing wudu, you have to be very careful about how you do your wudu.
We're gonna get to that, no doubt. We're gonna get to that. Inshallah, the things that break the fast.
Now, as far as the person who cannot fast due to a ailment, it's still upon them. They only can't leave the food and drink. They still have to fast. Not listen to certain things, speech, lowering your gaze.
A person who's not fasting because they're sick or they're on medication or something like that, they should still, just because you're not eating and drinking, don't mean you carry yourself the way you was the last 11 months of the year. No, it's still Ramadan. This is a serious, serious month. This is a serious month for us. We should still try to be better than we was doing the past couple months. Everything we've been messed up. This is still, even though you can't fast. You have to eat and drink. That don't mean you just do everything else and like, man, I'm gonna just keep doing what I've been doing. No, this is the time. We've been messed up. I need to change. This is the time to change. Jazakallah khair. We'll stop there, inshallah. Next week, or everything from here on out, all the classes before iftar, not after Maghrib. After Maghrib, we leaving to eat, or it's gonna be iftar here. So all the classes are 6:45 before iftar. Tarawih will be approximately 9-ish, 9:15, depending on, I don't know, the time's not up there. But anyway, all the classes are before iftar. All right, we'll stop there, inshallah, for Isha. And then after Isha, we're going to pray Tarawih. وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم.